Hey, thanks for clicking on this video. I really appreciate it. And we're about to get to sharpening the smallest of the 3-knife set. If you haven't seen the work we've done so far in recovering these knives that were wrecked. Long story short, a client of mine sent his knives off to another maker to have them repaired, have new handles put on them after they've been used for a couple decades. That maker completely destroyed his knives and we are saving them. So we're going to get to sharpening these. This last one here with the Edge Pro. That's some good content coming up in a moment. But I recognize that this series has brought in a lot of new subscribers to my channel. I just want to give you a little bit of background. My name is Kyle and I live here and work here in this small shop in the side of a hill in a very small rural town in Newfoundland, Canada. I graduated university with multiple degrees in 2017. 2018, I pulled away from being a high school teacher that I was at the time, and I've been working full-time for myself ever since, and I'm basically what you would call a professional maker, professional craftsman. So my primary occupation is as a knife maker, but I also produce my own public television show. I produce content like you're watching right now for YouTube, various social media pages, etc. I work with several different companies as a marketer. I'm a dad of 3 beautiful little girls. I have a lovely wife, and I'm a Christian male, fairly conservative in my beliefs, and that's about all I'm going to say right now. And I hope you'll keep visiting my channel, keep watching my content to see what I have to offer. And what you won't find, and what a lot of you have already picked up in the comment section, you wrote it down, you really like the no drama, no nonsense kind of aspect. That's exactly what we do here. You won't find a bunch of clickbait, you won't find a bunch of different nonsense and hyped up videos and me shouting at you in the camera to get this attention and try to keep you from clicking away. If you're here for the content, you're here for me, my family, what we're doing here, running a small local business where we get to work with some really great people and get to produce some incredible pieces of workmanship, craftsmanship, and knives that I ship all around the world. So let's go ahead now. Thanks for sticking. If you stuck around this long, you might as well stick around long enough for us to do this sharpening, because you're going to see a really cool tool that perhaps some of you haven't seen before. And we're going to finish up this knife. Actually, before we get started, I got to show you one cool project that we did last year. And I know you're probably here for the knife content, but I recommend you go check out our truck build video. As of last spring, a year ago, this thing was an old vintage motorhome. And also, I have chickens. Hey girl. Ooh. Got a few eggs? Got a few eggs in there this morning, huh? A few eggs in there this morning. Okay, we're ready to go. Here we have the Edge Pro. Now the Edge Pro is a guided system. So instead of laying your stone down, we move our knife freehand. We call that freehand sharpening. We use a guided system. So your knife stays in place. We move the stone and our angle is fixed. The beauty of a guided system is that it takes a lot less time initially to get good results. When you first pick up whetstone sharpening, like we did in previous videos, it can take some time to get results that you're really happy with and proud of. With the Edge Pro, it comes pretty much right away. As long as you use the stones and sharpen until you get to an actual apex, you're going to get results that you're really pleased with. And I'm going to show you how this one works today. Now we're not going to spend a ton of time on how the Edge Pro works. We're going to spend most of our time using it. But basically you have this rod that holds stones. The stones lock in to a dovetail type joint. You can see here, thread it down just like that. Your knife sits right here, and depending on the size of knife you have, you can adjust this slider. So if we were going to do our big chef's knife on here, which you can do, you would slide this way down. But for this little knife, we're going to come way up like this. Now, to adjust our angle of sharpening, do you see how this changes our angle of approach to our edge? So you basically just pick an angle you like, leave it there, and you work through changing your stones just like that. Now there are lots of different types of these. The most common is probably the Lansky. That's the very cheap, kind of budget-friendly version. I've never been a big fan of the Lansky systems, but the Edge Pro is actually my favorite. I've been sent different ones as well. We did a review on the T-Sproff one a little while ago. It worked effectively, but there was too much going on, too complicated. I like the Edge Pro. This is a standard model. They also offer a professional version, but something Edge Pro does is they make it simple, user-friendly. They make it to work. There's nothing silly or unintuitive about it. It's just it's a beautiful, clean design that works. Very consistent results. Now this is the Edge Pro Apex. So the Apex refers to the chassis, but this is the Apex number 4 kit. And what the different numbers apply to is what you get with the kit. So that would have come with a basic set of stones right here. I also have the polishing tapes and the billets to go with those, so that gets us up to 6,000 grit, which is really incredible. I also have the diamond matrix stones, but those are an add-on, an accessory. You can buy all kinds of goodies and stuff, attachments, scissor sharpening attachment, all kinds of goodies for the Edge Pro. But today we're going to stick with these here and some polishing tapes. We're also going to be using a strop. I always strop my edges before I'm done, and you can get a beautiful leather strop just like this on my website. It's my favorite size and design. We have a finished side piece of leather here, nice and thick, gives you a little bit of compression, but it's a hard tooling leather, so it's just perfect in my opinion. You can use it with a fresh side just like this, clean, or you're able to add some compound as well, backed on a nice piece of pine. Now this is a kitchen utility knife. It's really thin. Being a utility knife, I think we're going to go with the green notch. So you can see it right there. Now this is free moving. There's not like there's notches. You can pick somewhere between and clamp down. That's fine. But I'm going to pick the green slot, like I said. Now you're given a little bottle as well, because these are wet stones. So you'll need to keep them wet. Now this Coarse stone will soak up a little bit of water to start, just like our freehand stones will. In general, the finer grit you use, the less water they drink up, the less thirsty they are. So we're going to make sure to try to use the entirety of our stone to prolong the life of our stone. Now this is magnetized, but you're still going to need to hold on to it. But we just need to work the stone along our edge like this. You don't need to necessarily go full swooping strokes, heel to toe. I find that gets a little bit more uncontrollable. I'm just gonna work along like you see here. Okay, and now we're gonna switch sides. We'll add a little more water to our stone. This is cutting really quickly. Basically, our whole goal at this point is just to sharpen until we form an apex. And that is to bring two edges together, two planes. So we're sharpening here a single plane. Let's have a look. Now we have accomplished our task. We've formed an apex. We've brought those two planes together all the way along. I have a microscope here. Let's go ahead and take a look. I'll show you what the result is when you bring those two edges together with a coarse stone like that. Okay, the microscope is fired up. Let's get in here. Now have a look at that toothy bird edge, actually up near the toe of the knife, the point. I have a much coarser burn. You can see it's grabbed all kinds of fibers there from my shop towel. So really we've already done the heavy lifting. We'll switch out a stone now. We'll start refining. That was a very coarse stone. We're going to go up to a 220. You can see how simple it is to replace these stones. Some of these come spring loaded and stuff like that. It's really not necessary. I find it just adds more hassle to the process. We'll wet this down and get to work. So same thing again. Now we're just looking to remove the striations from the last stone. That's it, very simple. We'll keep a close eye on it. Let's try to remember to use the entire length of our stone so that we get the most life out of it. Now, just so we get great comparisons, let's finish with the same technique we used on our freehand stones. So we'll finish up with just some real light, just the weight of the stone. Just cutting strokes like that. So not back and forth strokes. This is burr management is how I'm thinking here now. Just a few light passes, cutting stroke only. See how much we can remove that burr. Fire up once again. And we're rolling. Let's have a look. So much finer scratches there now. Not as aggressive of a burr, not as toothy of an edge. Coming right along. Okay, we'll quickly remove that one and go to our next stone in the sequence, which is a 400 grit. I love 400 grit. 400 grit sandpaper. I use a lot of sandpaper here in the shop with my line of work, and 400 has to be my favorite. So let's get to work. We'll start off with back and forth scratches. Trying to use all of our stone, got to remember that. We'll use back and forth strokes until we get to the end. So again, working to remove the scratches from the last stone. The Apex 4 kit offers a lot of little baby steps. So you really don't need to spend a whole lot of time on each stone, which is really useful for the life of your stones. You're not working and working and working on a single grit to try to get that next step up. The next step after that 1000 is we have some polishing tapes here. Now when I first saw these, I was really impressed with them, the different grits. We have, I wrote down here, sometimes I forget because it's not written on them, but the blue are 2000 grit, the yellow is 3000, and the gray is 6000. We have some fine surface billets here. These are the same as the backing for the stones. We just stick our tapes on. We can go ahead and stick all three on right now, and these will fit in and work the same way as the stones will. We'll go ahead now with the 2000 first, which is again a nice little step from the 1000. Now you don't necessarily need water for these polishing tapes, although you can. Maybe we'll throw a little bit of water on there. It doesn't loosen the backing or anything. And you can definitely hear and feel the big texture change. These polishing tapes are really, really nice material. Now we'll remove the 2000, go up to the 3000 yellow. As you can see by the microscope there, we're getting a real nice finish now. Now we're moving up to the 6000 grit. This tape here has almost no texture, really smooth. I'll add just a little bit of water just to grease it up a little bit. We'll just do a few finishing passes on this edge. Very light here now. These tapes can be easy to cut if you go putting a lot of pressure on, but you can see I don't even need to hold the knife with the little amount of pressure I'm using. And there is the finished result of the 6000 grit. You can still see, of course, you could spend a lot more time on there and you would eventually remove all those scratches, but that's plenty of good surface. But have a look at the polish on that edge. It can be a little bit hard to convey, but... And now for the very last stage here, I never finish an edge without doing a little bit of stropping first. A piece of leather, even just a beautifully finished piece of leather like this. Actually, you can, a little trick my friend taught me, with straight razors, barbers used to just kind of use their hands on them, a few rubs each time they pick it up, because the oils from your skin works into the leather and you just keep reconditioning that leather. Barbers' straps back in the day when they'd go over to the wall and give their razor a few passes, they work their hand, a little bit of oils from their skin. So you can do that, and a nice, just non-compounded, no polishing compound there, just a fresh strap like this can really do a lot of good for an edge and just helping just that last little bit of refinement. Of course, if you want to work a little bit of rouge or something in there as well, you could. But even just like this, just refines that and it'll just give us a viciously sharp edge. You can pick these up at my website if you're interested. We'll ship them out to you anywhere in the world. Pull down my wool socks here. Just not going to give you really any more than that. Hair's too precious these days, but I'm just barely touching that edge to my skin. And that is the results there off of that edge. And that will be the last of this little series. We refinished our chef's knife, our carving knife, and now our paring knife, using a variety of different tools, techniques, and sharpening methods. I hope you learned something and I hope you were entertained. To all those who are new subscribers, I really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button. I'm really glad to have you here. I have tons of old restoration videos and backlog content on sharpening all kinds of different knives and tools and stuff. Go ahead and search back through the playlist. I think you'll really enjoy yourselves, and be on the lookout for new interesting content coming up. Thanks again. Make sure you hit that like button before you leave. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope to see you in the next video.